Gleaners Food Bank, you've been a staple in our community for so long. To talk a little bit more about the work that they are doing, Terry Collia, he's the Director of Marketing. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
You and your entire team over there, you are some true heroes, and not only in the middle of the pandemic, but prior to the pandemic as well. But do you want to talk a little bit? I would imagine the need is up right now, especially after this recent 3-week pause.
Yeah, we've seen a pretty dramatic increase in our food distributions. Prior to the pandemic, there's an estimate of around 566,000 or so food insecure folks in our service area, which is the 5 counties surrounding Detroit. Feeding America, which is the national governing body, has estimated upwards of another 212,000 on top of that because of the pandemic. So pretty staggering numbers, over 700,000 folks who are having some kind of food insecurity or hunger issues. And we tried to step up and address that in the best way we could, starting right out in March. As soon as the orders came down from the governor, we were changing our approach and trying to address all these folks.
And how do you do that? Because in the middle of this, people are also maybe they don't have the resources to donate like they once did. Companies maybe don't have the resources to donate. So I would imagine there's probably a gap there that you're trying to fill on top of the need being greater.
Yeah, I mean, from the fundraising side of things, obviously you need that element to try and support all the programs that we have in place. And as I mentioned, we added some new initiatives back in March that were just basically designed to address this issue. Do it safely, of course. Social distancing and all that was a big factor, but also to get to the different parts of the community that needed support that maybe we weren't serving as readily before. So fundraising was a big thing. It's my team's one of our top focuses. We're communications folks, we're marketing folks. We tried to get that information into the community as best we could. But end of the day, we've had some great support. I mean, some folks, yes, were hit. Some businesses couldn't support us maybe as they had in the past. But other corporations and foundations and folks that have stepped up. So we were able to meet that need. For us, it came in the form of distributing food via this mobile distribution model that we hadn't really done before. It's basically a large semi-truck. We've got pallets of food. We take it to a site, we unload in a parking lot. We've got a whole host of team members that do this. It's like an assembly line. They get it done very efficiently, very quickly. And then it's a line of cars, and cars come through, they get their bag of groceries, and they're on their way. So it's safe, it's quick. The volume is maintained the last 8 months or so. But for us, that's been the big thing, just try to find a way to address the need.
And with that, Terry, what about volunteers? Are you experiencing a shortage of volunteers, or do you have more people able to help out because they are maybe remote working or college students remote learning?
Yeah, so for volunteers, I mean, everyone probably thinks, food banks, you think of, food drives, you think of volunteering and that kind of thing. And these are important elements to what we do. But with the pandemic, of course, and especially safety was a top concern for us. The number of volunteer shifts available decreased. We couldn't have folks in our facilities. It just wasn't quite as safe. So we had to rely on the few choice opportunities we had for volunteers, but really it was getting a lot of temporary workers to come in and staff these mobile sites. We hired upwards of 80 or 90 some odd temp workers back in the spring and maintained a lot of those, and we're fortunately able to convert some of them to full-time as well. But that was really what helped us address the issues.
So where do things stand right now? We just went through Thanksgiving. Did you see the need increase prior to the holidays with this latest pause?
Yeah, there was a bit of a bump. A lot of folks, I think, even thinking of the holiday itself, needed food for that time. And some places are on, holiday or whatever, they're closed down, so they needed to get out ahead of that. For us, a typical month is maybe distributing 3.5 to 4 million pounds of food. Really, since the pandemic, and it's been pretty consistent, we're closer to 7 million pounds of food going out the door. So, it's kind of mind-boggling at times. But aside from all the numbers, for me, it's kind of like this. There's two sides to it. There's the technical side, and then there's like the human interest side. And just last week, I was at a mobile distribution site, meeting a photographer for a paper who was there. But you see, the folks, they're very efficient. They get stuff laid out, and then you see the line of cars forming even 15 minutes before the distribution starts, and it's wrapping around the parking lot. It's wrapping down the street. It blows your mind. On one hand, you're a little, upset by the fact that this is happening, but on the other side of it, you see folks getting their food, and when their masks weren't on, you could see a smile. You could see folks were very pleasant and in good spirits and that sort of thing. So we know we're helping. We're trying our best, and so far it's been a positive thing.
So as we're 8 months into this, and I'm sure in the beginning it was, trying to readjust. Now you're in a new rhythm. Where do you think you're going to be, and your organization will be in the next 3 months to 6 months?
Yeah, the increased distribution that we've done for food it was an emergency response for a time, but it's our new normal now. We had upwards of I think around 70 mobile distribution sites that were new during the peak in the summer there. We made that a little more efficient, got down to about 48 sites now, but we have plans over the next quarter to get that back up to around 90 sites. Because we have some additional resources that we want to leverage to get the food out where it needs to be. So it's the new normal for us. These extra mobile distribution sites are going to happen. Maybe barring weather, I guess, is the only factor that'll come into play. But that's our plan. We're not going to stop. We're going to keep doing it. There's a need there. There's a meal gap, as you mentioned, and our goal is to address that.
Gary Collia with us here on the Oakland County MegaCast. He's the Director of Marketing for Gleaners Food Bank. How is your organization impacted when the decision comes down from school districts to go remote? Does your need for food then go up?
It definitely does. There's estimates that, I want to say across Wayne County, for instance, right? There's 20 to 30% of folks are basically dealing with hunger. About 80% of that number is people with children. So if you have kids, it's a big thing. Of course, you want to feed your kids. But a lot of folks don't realize hunger and food insecurity is not a situation where you're maybe homeless or you're I guess at the bottom of your rope or kind of thing. But it's folks who are maybe laid off during this pandemic. It's a new situation for them. It's as you mentioned, the kids who are in schools. If they're getting a meal or two at school, everything's great. You take that away, that makes a bigger negativity coming on the family. It's a big stressor. So as soon as those orders come down, we definitely see some spikes in our mobile sites. But again, having those available, and a lot of times those are taking place at schools, it makes it good that we can address that in that way.
What's the one positive do you think is going to come out of this crisis for Gleaners?
Well, honestly, we pushed ourselves to the limits. Our facility is quite old. Don't want to beat around the bush with that one. It wasn't really made for the volume of food that we're putting out, but we found a way to make that happen. So it really, for us, number one, gave us confidence that we could actually do more than even what we thought we could. I come into the office on occasion, when we're able to, and we have pallets of food in our conference room and that kind of thing, but we're making the space work as best we can. So that was one positive for us, that we could push ourselves even further and still maintain a level of productivity that was very high. And aside from that, it's been the community support. Again, like you mentioned, with some folks are on difficult times and maybe the volunteer shifts aren't quite there, but we've seen a pretty big increase in folks who've been willing to step up and support us in varying ways. So the fact that that's still happening despite this pandemic has been a big eye-opener and really heartwarming for us.
And so going forward, we are going into the Christmas holidays. Again, another time where it could be hard for so many people, because I think about this latest pause and you wonder about the employees that were maybe just barely making it, right? Because they don't have that federal stimulus check to help them now. So, your restaurant workers, your movie theater workers, a lot of them making 10, 12, 13 bucks an hour. Now they're just trying to pay their bills, but the need for the food goes up. Do you think this is going to continue until a vaccine is widely available?
We prepared for that possibility. We think it's a very real possibility that could happen. There's this kind of dynamic, obviously, I think you guys were mentioning earlier on the broadcast that there's snow and things and it's getting colder out. And we see this every year, but I think it's more so coming at us this year. It's this idea of do you heat your home or do you eat? It's this like heat or eat dynamic. And that really shouldn't, it blows my mind. It shouldn't be a thing, but it is for a lot of folks. It's very real. So again, I mentioned my team, we're the marketing folks, we're the fundraisers. We try to do our best to support the organization in that way. We set up a lot of opportunities for folks to get involved if they can to support. Starting even tomorrow, it's Giving Tuesday. It's a global initiative, but we get on board with that. We get a match sponsor to help people's dollars go twice as far. And then we bring up another opportunity in a couple of weeks. It's our Double Your Donation Day, we call it. These are just ways, again, to get the funds that are needed to address the folks that you mentioned who have that need.
Do you want to talk a little bit more about those programs starting with Tuesday?
Yeah, that'd be great. It's Giving Tuesdays. It's a really fun day. I mean, a lot of folks are aware of it now. It's not really hiding in the shadows. It's a pretty known deal. It's a global phenomenon at this point. But for us, it's about leveraging our partners. So we're getting together with the William Davidson Foundation. They're going to be matching donations up to $100,000 that day. So that's huge. Of course, a lot of folks they have that philanthropic drive. They want to support our organization, but those types of days are a little bit better because the dollar goes twice as far, right? So that's happening on Tuesday. The following event is on the 15th, December 15th, Double Your Donation Day. We do a few of these throughout the holiday months. We partner with Fox 2. Usually they do a great job of broadcasting what's going on. We have a phone bank of volunteers at one time. Now it's mostly employees, just for safety reasons, but they can accept donations on the phone. And then we have another match partner. Kroger is going to be matching funds that day as well. So it's just an opportunity for folks to kind of get a little excited about it and know that their money is going further. And end of the day, that's what's best for us, that people still get involved and still support the initiatives that we have.
And Terry, I know some people like that feeling of actually buying the food and donating the food. But I know organizations such as yours, money is a better option because you can make that dollar stretch further. How does that work?
Well, quite simply, it's based on our relationships with different food partners and things. If you buy, a can of beans or whatever it is, retail cost, that can be upwards of, maybe even double the cost that we're paying for, right? So as much as we appreciate the classic food drives and not in COVID times when it's not necessarily safe to do that, it's still kind of a fun way to rally your community and get folks involved. But end of the day, and especially now, the dollars go so much further for us. And given our circumstances with safety and trying to maintain distance and that kind of thing, it just doesn't really make a lot of sense. So of course you can go to our website, gcfb.org, and make donations and get on board on a Double Your Donation Day, that kind of thing. But for the folks that really like that food drive element, we actually launched a brand new site back in the summer, which is basically, it's called a virtual food drive. You can sign up for your company, your organization, yourself. They're customizable with logos and graphics and things, but really it's just a way, it's like an e-commerce shopping experience. If you've bought things on Amazon or something like that, same idea. So you go on there and you purchase, I'll put it in air quotes, but you purchase the food, and that's how you make your donation to us in kind of a fun shopping kind of way. So it kind of replicates that food drive element, but in a virtual format.
Yeah, because when you talk about the safety element in this, how has this been for you and your teams at trying to keep your staff safe as well in the middle of the pandemic, but yet you don't have the option of not being on the front lines and giving this food out?
Oh yeah, I mean, my team in particular is fortunate. We can do a lot of our work virtually because that's kind of the nature of our jobs. But the vast majority of folks at Gleaners Community Food Bank, they're operations staff. They're going to be program staff. They're like the temp workers I mentioned who are manning those mobile sites. You mentioned the heroes and the folks that are doing the work. Those are the main people that are driving this effort for us. And yes, they have to be on site because there's a lot of physical moving of things and tons of trucks coming and going and food being moved around, that kind of stuff. So it's kudos to our programs team and our operations folks who've laid in some very strict protocols that follow pretty much in line with a lot of the state-wide recommendations. But if it wasn't for that, we couldn't have executed. So safety is always top of mind for sure.
Well, it's great to have you with us. Just another minute or two with us here on the Oakland County MegaCast. Anything we didn't ask that maybe you want to touch on before we let you go?
Well, I think it's important to emphasize, how appreciative we are of the support we've received, because I know a lot of folks are dealing with struggles and different things at this time, and we've seen some pretty significant corporate donations and things that have supported us and helped us greatly with some of our initiatives. But even I have the opportunity, I can kind of go through some of our emails and things that we get and messages, and you see folks they straight up say, Gleaners has helped me in the past, so I have this small amount of money, but I'm going to give it to you. And it really moves you in an emotional way because they don't have to do that. Maybe they're just getting back on their feet despite all of this, and yet they still make a conscious decision to support the organization that helped them in the past. And I've been with the organization for about a year and a half, so not even that long. But I've seen a lot of pretty amazing things in that time. So from all of us to all of you, it's maybe a cliche, but thank you so much. We're very appreciative of the support in that way.
Well, and from the community to you and your team, thank you for always being there for our community. Gleaners Food Bank is such a vital part of our community here in the greater Metro Detroit area. You and your team are an amazing part of us, and so many people need your services. And, we want to remind people too, don't be too proud to reach out for help. A lot of people, their pride gets in the way, but it's okay to ask for help. And I know that you and your team are there to give that help as well.
For sure. Yeah, I appreciate you giving us the segment to kind of share that information. It's a great story, and again, that stigma, it shouldn't be there. We're all here to help. That's what it's for.
Well, thank you so much again for being with us on the Oakland County MegaCast.